I haven't been too nice to the iPhone 14 Plus, but I think Apple has taken a lot of my complaints and appears to be trying to make the 15 Plus feel like a much better deal, and these new battery capacity leaks are pointing to a pretty substantial upgrade, I must say. Let's begin. So I think the iPhone 14 and 14 Plus were in kind of an awkward year because it was the first official year Apple decided to start reusing old Apple Silicon chips for the flagship iPhone. We had gotten accustomed to, even on the lower end new iPhones, getting the latest and greatest Apple Silicon, but with the 14 Pro, they said, yeah, you can have the A16 chip, but the regular 14 and 14 Plus, you're still gonna be rocking the A15. But now that we got that awkward middle year over with, now it means that even the regular iPhone 15 and 15 Plus should be rocking A16 chips, which are more efficient, which is great. But on top of that, these battery capacity leaks are showing that Apple's kind of doubling down on the idea of the 15 Plus having the best battery life in any iPhone ever. So if you look at the capacities of the iPhone 14 series, they basically had around the same size battery pack as the 13 Pro Max put into the 14 Pro Max as well as the 14 Plus. It's a little bit under 4,400 milliamp hours, which compared to other Androids is not that much, but when you put it into a super efficient phone powered by an A series chip, you get industry leading battery life. Like in a lot of the battery tests, it's very, very difficult for any Android phone to come out on top next to an iPhone. It should be getting a lot better now because this leak is suggesting that the 15 Plus is getting an upgrade to almost 5,000 milliamp hours. And probably the most interesting part of this leak is while there are battery upgrades across the board, for the most part 12 to 15% more for everybody, the difference in capacities between the 15 Pro Max and 15 Plus are actually a bit more noticeable. The 15 Pro Max, or Ultra, whatever they end up calling it, is rumored to not exceed 4,900 milliamp hours, while the 15 Plus is. So before, they practically had identical battery capacities. Now, they are legitimately giving the plus-sized iPhone a little bit more juice to work with, and couple that with the fact that it's a 60 hertz phone, that's probably the worst thing about it. You know, this is going to be close to $1,000, still rocking 60 hertz. I get it. That's annoying. That's stupid. But if you just get past the ProMotion exclusion, this thing is rocking USB-C for one. It's going to have a dynamic island. It's going to have the A16 chip, so a genuine chip upgrade compared to the previous generation, and the best battery life by far in any iPhone. And while Apple boasted about that with the 14 Plus in the past, the battery capacities were so similar between the Plus and the Pro Max, and the ProMotion on the 14 Pro Max could go down to 1 hertz if you needed it to. So in battery tests, it really just came down to, do you turn on always on display or not? And if you turned on always on display, then yes, the 14 Plus got better battery life. But if you turn that off, typically the 14 Pro Max performed similarly or better thanks to that variable refresh rate. But with battery capacities inside the phone this different, I think it might be a little bit more objective of a claim to say that the 15 Plus is going to be rocking the best battery life of any iPhone ever, which is pretty sweet. On top of that, couple the fact that the rear-facing camera is supposed to be 48 megapixels, which is a big upgrade, also enabling for a 2x optical zoom option in the camera app, even if, yes, it is technically just a digital zoom, but just one more thing that you're not missing out on by going with the lower-end iPhone. And the next big advantage is that the 15 Pros are rumored to get price hikes, unfortunately, but not the regular iPhone 15 and 15 Plus. So I think the main reason a lot of people couldn't justify the 14 Plus, and the main reason I didn't recommend it, was because it was so close in price to the 14 Pros anyway. But what's rumored to happen this year is the 15 Pros are going up in price by at least $100, which widens the gap basically between the entry-level 15 and the 15 Pros, which I guess in a lot of ways makes the 15 Plus feel like a lot better of a deal, right? So just across the board in general, USB-C iPhones are going to start out more expensive, but here's one with a 6.7-inch OLED display, dynamic island, USB-C, 48 megapixel camera, best battery life in an iPhone. And hey, if you really like having that ringer switch, this should still have that. Action button is just going to be on the 15 Pros, but all of that hardware, and it's still starting below $1,000. Sure, there's going to be Androids that can beat that hardware for hardware, but I think a lot of us acknowledge and understand that there's some people out there that just want iPhones and are comfortable with iOS because that's the ecosystem they're in. And if you care a lot about the port that's on your your phone, I think this year's lineup sounds quite a bit exciting. If you don't care about USB-C, then yeah, I suppose you're better off just waiting and getting a 14 Plus on a massive discount. Or if you're comfortable with 60 hertz, I mean, you could easily go with a 12 Pro Max. I mean, it's a few generations behind, but you can find them for a lot more affordable these days if you're on a budget. But yeah, anytime someone was interested in the 14 Plus, I would just tell them to find a discounted 13 Pro Max. You can find them for really, really cheap out there. Better camera, better display, better battery, better everything. But when it comes to the 15 Plus, it's going to be a lot harder for me to recommend, oh, just get a 14 Pro, because that has Lightning, and that will likely have a more noticeably smaller battery capacity than what the 15 Plus is rocking. And I genuinely think this battery capacity difference between the Pros and the regulars all comes down to that camera size. Like, I know a lot of you guys really, really care about having the best possible camera in your phone, but I think we're actually seeing the side effects of it. Like, yeah, if you want that much camera, it might come at the cost of how big the battery capacity can be in the iPhone. So if you're willing to live with a worse camera, you might actually get some battery gains out of that. Something to think about, because you can only stuff so much tech into this tiny little glass rectangle that we carry around. What do you guys think of the battery capacity leaks? Are you upset that the best of the best iPhone doesn't get the best of the best battery life? Or are you kind of comfortable with 60 hertz, and does the regular iPhone 15 or 15 Plus actually seem a lot more compelling this year compared to years prior? Feel free to let me know down in the comments below. And thank you to everybody supporting this channel directly. Seriously, helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. This is your Apple Sheep here, and I will see you all in the next one.